Hi guys, welcome back to Army Wife Life. I know there's been quite a long intermission between my last interview and this video, but I did just move houses and I am expecting a baby, so there's been a lot going on here, so I took a little break, but I'm ready to get back into it. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about a question I get a lot, and that is what it's like to be stationed in Hawaii. So my husband and I have been stationed here for about 2 years, and it's definitely been crazy. A lot of people think that Hawaii is just like amazing and it's the greatest duty station you could ever get because it's, you know, an island and it's fun and it's tropical. But I'm here to like tell everyone about a lot of things that you don't consider before moving here, things that I didn't consider. So if you're considering Hawaii as your next duty station, if it's getting time to PCS and it gets offered to you, I would definitely take these into consideration so you kind of know what you're getting into. So I'll start off with the good things about Hawaii. I mean, obviously it is an island and it's tropical and it's nice. The weather, if you like hot, it's always around 80 to 90. So if you're the type of person who like loves that perfect temperature range right there, definitely a plus for you. It rains a lot here though, so that is also something to keep in mind. Another thing that people really love about this place is if you're like an outdoorsman, there's a bunch of hikes, obviously a bunch of beaches. We're surrounded by ocean. Most of them are free. There's only a few to pay for, so there's definitely a lot to do adventure-wise. A lot of great picture spots, so there is a lot to do outside. Another really fun thing is family visiting. When my family came to visit, it was one of the most fun experiences of my life. It was like a family vacation, but for me, I didn't have to leave my own house. I didn't have to pack. Everything was here. We did definitely do a bunch of touristy things when my family was here, like luau's and snorkeling and all that stuff. So it's kind of stuff you don't typically do if you're living here because you just don't. So when your family comes, it's a good excuse to go on and get out there and do all of those touristy things. So those are some of the good things about Hawaii. The list of cons, in my opinion, can be a little bit longer. I'm going to be honest, a lot of people come to Hawaii with like super open mind and they're really excited, but it turns out to be not what they expected. A lot of people can't wait to leave this place, and this is my opinion, and it's also the opinion of the majority of people who I've talked to. I think I've only met 2 people who actually want to stay. Everyone else is itching to leave. So I'll get into a little bit about why that is. The number one reason is it's expensive to live here. Hawaii is a very expensive place to live. The cost of living is extremely high, especially if you're coming from a state or a duty station where cost of living is very low. It's going to be a huge adjustment for you. Just groceries alone can cost a family of 2 anywhere from $200 to $600 every 2 weeks. And this is a common thing. I have talked to many Army wives and families about how much they spend. This is on the commissary too, on groceries every week. Most families go every 2 weeks and they're spending about $200 to $600 depending on their family size. But for a family of 2, it definitely costs me $200 every 2 weeks to feed me and my husband and our growing baby and our dogs. So that's every 2 weeks, and definitely coming from a state like Texas, where I could, you know, get food, groceries for $75 every 2 weeks, it's a huge adjustment. You know, a gallon of milk here is like $7. A thing of laundry detergent can cost you $12. So just be mindful of that. Your budgeting is going to change. You do get like a extra money for cola and stuff, but it really doesn't go as far as you think it would because the influx of the prices are just so high. Other things is like gas here is super expensive. Just going out to eat, which is crazy because you wouldn't think it would be that much of a difference at chains, but it definitely is. Remember the first night that we were here, we went and stopped just for McDonald's because we didn't know anything and we had a rental car and it was our first day on the island. And it cost us $35 for 2 meals, like 2 like number ones. It cost us $35 because basically each meal is like $12. So going out to eat anywhere is super expensive. So it makes you kind of like not want to go out because it just adds up so fast. So that's another thing to keep in mind. I mean, the cost of living is high, so definitely you're going to have to rework your budget because it can get pretty overwhelming. Another thing is housing. So a lot of people like to live on post, and I personally just moved on post and I like it a lot better than living off post. But the housing here, there's not enough houses to meet the demand of families who need them. So wait lists can be over 2 months long. So when you're getting here, you might have to wait and live in a hotel or find off-post accommodations until your name gets called. So it is very frustrating when you're trying to get a home on post because that's what you're comfortable with. There's no commute, but a lot of people find themselves waiting and waiting. But another thing is a lot of people will opt to live off-post because they want to pocket some BH. But one thing to keep in mind is definitely when you live off-post, your rent might be cheaper, but you're paying utilities off-post. On-post, your utilities are included in your BH. Utilities can range anywhere from $200 to $700 a month. That's a month. So it can easily go over your BH. Another thing that I really recommend is going to be buying in Hawaii. It is a little bit of a gamble, you know, buying a house, trying to sell it before you leave. But a lot of people end up paying less in a mortgage than they would renting a house. You still have to pay your utilities, but if you can find a good deal with a mortgage broker, definitely look into that. You can always rent the houses out after you leave. So it is a little bit of high risk, high reward kind of deal if you want to try and sell it when you leave or you want to rent it out. But a lot of people do take that option because houses in Hawaii have a very high value. So I would look into that because you'll have more options than you would on post on the wait list or renting off post. And another thing that I want to talk about is pets. It is extremely hard to have pets here. So I have dogs. So when you're coming here, it is a very hard process to bring your animals with you. There is a required quarantine for them, so you're gonna have to pay to get a lot of health certifications from your vet, a bunch of shots, and then you have to quarantine your animals from anywhere from 30 to 180 days before they can even come to this island. So a lot of people don't think about that. The vet bills, they do add up. Just every visit trying to get this certification and this shot, and that's per animal. So keep that in mind. Then you also have to buy their airline approved crates, which can be costly, and their airline tickets. And none of that will be reimbursed by the military for your traveling expenses, and you cannot put that on your government travel card. So people say it ranges about from $1,000 per pet to get them to Hawaii. And it can be very stressful based on what kind of breed you have and what temperature it is flying. They might be able to go on the same plane as you. So it is very hard to get them here, and the same process leaving. You have to have all those health certs. Make sure they're on the same plane as you. Depending on if you have the right crate or not, get all those health certifications, and it's going to be another $1,000 per pet leaving the island. So you're going to be spending at least $1,000 the year you get here and $1,000 the year you leave per pet. Another thing with animals is housing. A lot of housing will not allow you to have animals at all, or they won't allow you to have large breed animals. So if you have German Shepherds, you have, you know, Dobermans, you have big dogs, they're not going to let you rent out that home. So it can be difficult on top of the pet rent. So they can charge you anywhere between $50 a month all the way up to a whole additional pet rent, which can be a whole second deposit. So definitely keep that in mind. It can be very pricey. On post housing, they accept all sizes of animals. They do not accept all breeds. So keep that in mind. But they don't charge a pet rent on post. It's completely included, but there is a 2 pet per household limit. What I have for animals, and then, you know, keep in mind the cost of getting them to and from. A lot of people end up leaving their fur babies, which breaks my heart because they just can't afford to bring them back with them. So definitely keep in mind you're going to have to pay for them and start saving. Another thing is vehicles. It is the military standard that per household, one car gets shipped. Almost every family I know has more than one car, so you're going to be paying out of pocket to ship your second car. The minimum to get to Hawaii for a sedan is going to be $980. So, and that's not coming from like the East Coast or overseas, that's coming from like the West Coast. So that can get pretty pricey too. You don't really want to leave your car, and Hawaii is not like the other United States duty stations where you can drive your car so you don't have to pay. You have to ship it, and that's all out of pocket. So again, that's another out of pocket expense. You're paying the first year you get here and the last year you get here. So there's only 1 year in between where you're not paying to ship your car and ship your animals. So keep in mind, coming and going can be very expensive. The number one biggest thing that I'm going to talk about now is why most people do not like living in Hawaii, and that's the isolation. You are literally isolated from everything else in the world. You are on an island in the middle of the ocean, far away from everyone. You know, California is not for another like 2,000 miles, so you're very far. This is probably the farthest most people have ever been from their families, and it can get really overwhelming. You won't see them for holidays as much because traveling home can be easily over $1,000. So it's very hard to see your family. It's hard for your family to come here because it's just as expensive for them to come. So a lot of times you're going to be missing out on big events. You're going to be missing out on holidays. You miss them and you can't see them like you used to. You can't just go drive for a couple hours to get to them. You can't get a quick plane ticket that's a couple $100. It's always going to be about $1,000 to travel because you're leaving from, you know, a touristy island, and the plane tickets here are just expensive. With that being said, you know, you have your spouse and you have your children if you have children, but the training here is unreal. Like, they train constantly. Like, they are gone, they are here on island training, but you can't talk to them. It's pretty intense. It's constant and it's intense, and a lot of people don't think that. They do train a lot. A lot of people say that when they add up all the times their husband's been gone throughout the year, it's about more than half the year that they end up being gone. So keep that in mind. Like, you're gonna be like alone. Every unit is different, but the biggest complaint that spouses have here is that they hardly see their spouse with all the training time added up. So that is a huge obstacle to overcome and a huge thing to consider when thinking about, you know, taking the opportunity to come to Hawaii for your next duty station. Another thing is jobs. So a lot of military spouses will get jobs to, you know, fill up their day, help them get a routine, but a lot of spouses have a very difficult time finding a job. There is very limited jobs on the island, and there's so many people applying for all those jobs that so many spouses I've talked to and read about, they have the hardest time finding their own job. And because most of the jobs are in Honolulu, that's about an hour from post, not including traffic. Most people are commuting over an hour a day to get to Honolulu where all the jobs are, and the commute time and the gas and the traffic and the frustration just isn't worth it for a lot of people. So it's very hard to find a job, and most spouses will end up taking a job that they're overqualified for just to have a job because there's not a lot of job opportunities. But yeah, those are like the big things that everyone talks about, why they don't like it here, or why they wish that they knew before making the decision to come here. And I'm sharing all of these things not to scare you guys, but definitely to better prepare you. These are things no one told me and my husband, so we had to, you know, figure out ourselves. Same situation goes for a lot of military families. So I'm going to share some tips on better ways to prepare yourself if you do end up picking this duty station or you get randomly assigned it. So tip number one I have for before you PCS is definitely to, you know, save. Can't stress that enough. You're going to be paying for your second car if you have one. That can be about $980 minimum for a small car. If you have a larger car, it's going to be more, especially if you're coming from a faraway place. Secondly is your animals, you know, $1,000 per animal, including all your vet visits, your quarantine, and your plane ticket and the crates. So it's $1,000 a pet, $1,000 for your car, and then also just traveling expenses. My second tip would definitely be to make sure that your government travel card is ready to use. Whoever is active military, you or your spouse, you should have a government travel card issued to you. Make sure you understand what it can and cannot be used for. So it cannot be used for your car, cannot be used for your pets. There are very strict limitations on what it can be used for when PCSing. So definitely ask a bunch of questions. When you're out processing, you know, meetings you have to go to, really understand how it works. I'll leave a few links in the description box below on what you can use your government travel card for and how TLA and DLA work. So definitely figure out those two. A lot of things that people say is to get command sponsored before you get here. Make sure you are on your husband's orders or your wife's orders. Make sure that you are command sponsored. You know, get it done before you get here. I know you have a lot going on with movers and getting your kids' paperwork ready for school or figuring out what you're going to do for your PCS leave. But make sure you get command sponsored. Otherwise, your plane ticket is not going to be covered by the Army. You're going to have to pay out of pocket for that. And your furniture also not going to be covered. So those are huge expenses that could save you a bunch of money. And even when you get to Hawaii, a huge problem is people just can't get command sponsored. It takes them months and months and years to get command sponsored, and that's money you're losing every month if you're still getting your meal deductions pulled out or you're trying to get reimbursed for your plane ticket. It can cause a headache when you get here and waiting, and it's a huge frustration so many wives have. So a huge recommendation is just get it done before you get here. Another thing is once you are here, so these are things for when you get here, you're going to want to budget. Learn your budget, learn what you're spending, and stick to it. Financial stress is the number one reason besides isolation, I think, that people just can't bear living here. Make a budget and try and stick to it. And also, you know, keep in mind you're going to be spending money in another 2 years when you leave. You know, you spend it all coming here the first year, second year, you're not leaving. The third year, you're spending all that money again leaving. So put money aside for leaving. Your budget will be everything. It'll allow you to do things. It'll allow you to not stress over finances. Another thing that I recommend is do not do everything when you first get here. A lot of people are so excited to like be here and they want to go to all the beaches, they want to do all the hikes, they want to do all the luau's like right away because they're just so excited. But then you have nothing to do when you are here. Definitely space it out. My husband and I try to do like one fun thing a month, like one big like Hawaii thing, whether it was a beach or a special hike or a luau or the Dole pineapple thing. We try to space it out so we'd have something to look forward to every month. It also helps with your budget. Do one fun thing a month. Also is leaving the island. A bunch of people can't leave the island for a really long time. I personally just left the island for the first time in 2 whole years. It was the longest wait ever, but just with, you know, training schedules and holidays and expenses of leaving and animals, definitely plan time to go home or go somewhere because you don't want to. I got island fever so bad, and a lot of people do. You know, have something to look forward to. Plan to go see your family. Plan to go to even another island for the weekend. Definitely helps with that isolation and cabin fever feeling. My last thing would be definitely make the most of it. I mean, every duty station is what you make of it. You could be in the lamest place, in the most isolated place, but it is a bunch of mentality. You could hate it so much, but still, you know, if you tell yourself, it's only 3 years, it's Hawaii, I'm living in Hawaii, let me, you know, make the most of it. It's going to definitely affect your mindset and make you enjoy it a little more. So it's all a lot to take in, but if you know, tell yourself that everything's going to be okay and you're going to enjoy it, you're going to have a better chance of enjoying it. There are amazing parts and aspects of living here, so don't just focus on the negatives. I'm not trying to scare anyone, but a lot of people are always assuming that because we live in Hawaii, it's all happy, all island time, all the time, paradise living, but it's a lot to, you know, deal with, and it's a lot to adjust to. So there are a lot of happies, but there are a lot of like downfalls. So If you are considering Hawaii, I hope this video helps you. A bunch of people are always asking on Facebook pages and online, searching, you know, what's it like to live in Schofield Barracks, or, you know, on the Marine base or on Pearl Harbor. So definitely keep those things in mind. And yeah, thank you for watching about what it's like to truly live in Hawaii as a military spouse. If you guys have any questions about what it's like for me personally living in Hawaii, or you need more information on TLA or DLA, I'm going to have links in the description, but also feel free to comment down below any questions you have, or if you guys want to see any other videos. I'm totally down for a house tour. If you guys want to see that to know kind of like what your on-post housing options are, I can do it on military installation housing tour, or I'm going to do a baby update for you guys. I'm going to do a video going over how TRICARE works when you're expecting a baby and what all you get. But let me know what else you guys want to see, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in and for bearing with me for that interval of me being a little absent. But alright, I hope you guys learned a lot about living in Hawaii as a military spouse, and I will see you next week.